Hey everyone, let's dive right into this. Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're taking those incredibly intimidating, thick technical manuals and transforming them into a logical, step-by-step masterclass on repairing your induction cooktop. Seriously? If you've ever just stood there staring at a completely dead stove, wondering where on earth to even begin, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Picture this. Your induction cooktop just stopped heating right before dinner. Absolute nightmare, right? So do you immediately panic and shell out $500 for a repair tech? Or is it literally just the child lock acting up? Before you start ripping out crazy expensive logic boards, we really need to talk about the reality of appliance triage. It's all about knowing exactly what to look for, and this is absolutely crucial in the exact right order.
So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit the simplest solutions first, then diagnosing the soft short, entering the diagnostic matrix, deciphering the error codes, and finally testing individual components. Let's get into it.
First up, Section 1, the simplest solutions first. Any master technician will tell you we absolutely always rule out the obvious before doing anything crazy.
But before we even think about opening things up, I've got to give you a serious safety warning straight from the SOS parts manual. It says, warning, before you do anything to your appliance, make sure you disconnect it from the power supply. Wear suitable protective gloves. Look, this isn't just your standard legal boilerplate text, okay? Induction cooktops carry massive, potentially lethal voltage. You've got to respect the electricity and isolate that power first. No exceptions.
All right, so let's say your touch panel is just totally unresponsive. Check these quick wins first. Is the child lock activated? Just look for a little padlock or key symbol. Is there some kind of liquid or gunk preventing the touch sensitivity? Literally just clean the glass. And honestly, sometimes all you really need is a cold reset. Just kill the power completely at the breaker for a few minutes, then flip it back on. It's only if all of these completely fail that we start suspecting a defective display or main control board.
Moving deeper into the machine, we've got Section 2, Diagnosing the soft short. This is where we start uncovering those really hidden component faults.
So imagine this. The fan spins for a second, stops, and repeats, over and over. But there's absolutely no error alarm. We actually saw this exact thing in a super tricky Medea cooktop repair scenario, and this brings us to a really fascinating concept, the soft short. Specifically, we're talking about an insulated gate bipolar transistor, or IGBT. A soft short is basically a condition where the component measures totally fine when it's just sitting there on the board, but the second you put it under an electrical load, bam, it fails. In the fixed band case study, the tech checked everything, the pot detection circuit, the sensors, the voltage rails, and it all measured rock solid. But the true culprit? It was this sneaky soft short in the IGBT that only reared its ugly head when power was applied. Wild, right?
That brings us to this massive pro tip. Always double-check your power components under full isolation after completely desoldering the IGBT for a final test. Basically, getting accurate measurements often means you literally have to pull the component completely off the board. If you don't, the failure is just masked by all the other circuitry around it. But once you remove it and test it in total isolation, the fault becomes glaringly obvious. Swap it out for a new part, and boom, the heating comes right back to normal.
Okay, let's level up. Section 3, entering the diagnostic matrix. This is how we actually talk to the machine.
Think about a high-end unit, like a Wolf induction range. You can clearly map out coils 1 through 5 right across the glass. These are the distinct heating zones we can individually interrogate. But obviously, we can't just ask the stove what's wrong, right? First, we have to unlock the system using some very specific cheat codes.
And here is exactly how you pull that off. Accessing the Wolf diagnostic mode is honestly a lot like cracking a safe. Step 1, start from lock mode. Step 2, touch and hold the plus and minus pads together for exactly 5 seconds. Step 3, wait for the LED test to show it worked. Now, the really wild part about this process is the precision it demands. You have exactly 7 seconds to release those buttons. If any other sensor on that keypad detects a stray finger, boom, it totally aborts the process. It is absolutely designed to keep this diagnostic matrix completely hidden from everyday users.
But once you're successfully inside the matrix, you can actually check vital stats, like live temperatures, to see just how aggressively the system is protecting itself. Consider the massive difference between the heatsink limits and the coil limits. For the generator's heatsink, if it hits just over 176 degrees Fahrenheit, the boost function is instantly disabled. Over 210 degrees, it completely shuts all the zones off.
But the induction coils themselves, they can handle way higher heat. Boost doesn't get disabled until 320 degrees, and a total shutdown doesn't happen until a whopping 545 degrees. The system essentially derates power or kills it entirely based on these extremely specific thresholds just to save its own circuitry.
Which naturally brings us to Section 4, deciphering the error codes. Time to translate what the machine is screaming at us.
So if a thermal shutdown or an electrical fault does happen, the machine is going to log an error code in its memory. Let's look at some of these specific codes straight from our Wolf manual cheat sheet. U400, that's an overvoltage. E2 means your coil temperature is too high. E6 points to a power supply error, and E9 is a controller error. By stepping through the diagnostic mode with those plus and minus keys, you can read the historical error log. You might uncover an E6, which tells you to grab your multimeter and check your house's 120-volt wiring. Or you might see an E9, which is basically the machine flat out demanding you replace the total controller board.
Hold on though, before you go ordering expensive replacement parts, consider this. The irony here is that sometimes the error isn't actually a broken machine at all. Think about the requirements for pan detection. A magnet absolutely must stick to the bottom of the cookware. The pan needs to be the same size as the coil, and it has to be perfectly flat and smooth. Basically, without enough ferrous metal, the pan detection system just refuses to engage. The cooktop might throw an E6 or E47 code simply because someone is trying to use a non-magnetic pot. So please, always verify the cookware before you go blaming the cooktop itself.
All right, moving into the final stage, Section 5, testing individual components. This is where we isolate the hardcore hardware faults.
So when error codes just aren't cutting it, we literally map out the logic. By following a troubleshooting flowchart, we can see exactly how technicians trace 120 volts AC from the terminal block, stepping it all the way down to check for exactly 37 volts DC on the relay boards, specifically at test points like the J4 and J11A connectors. They are systematically hunting for the exact point where the voltage fails, methodically ruling out the control board, the communication cables, or the relay board itself. They aren't just guessing, they're following the circuit. It's like a giant puzzle. And get this, if the oven portion of an induction range is acting up, the diagnostics get even cooler. While you're in diagnostic mode, you can actually use the physical selector knob to test the relay board elements. Turn it to clean and you activate the convection elements. Turn it to roast, you trigger the bake elements. Turn it to broil to fire up the broil element. By manually turning that knob, you manually trigger the relays. A call for heat indicator pops on if the control board detects current, letting you instantly isolate whether you're dealing with a dead heating element or a completely faulty relay board. It is just such an incredibly clever way to diagnose physical hardware using the internal software.
Well, we've gone all the way from simply cleaning the glass to tracing out 37-volt DC circuits, which brings us to a final question for you. The next time your induction cooktop flashes an error or just outright refuses to heat, are you going to immediately call a tech, or are you going to enter the diagnostic matrix yourself? Now that you know how to peel back the layers, from a simple child lock all the way to complex voltage diagnostics, the power to truly understand and repair your appliances is right there in your hands. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you on the next one.